Hi everyone, how you doing today? Thought I'd show you a new prototype miner I've been working on, and this is actually one of two versions of it. The second version I'll show you in a second. Explain what took place on this version, and then I'll go to the next one, correcting those problems. So this one is a Core 7 high gravity miner. So I used laser drills on it instead of the mechanical drills. It does have or this version at least has a couple Gatling guns on it. It does have a warp drive, does have an advanced shield, a fancier detector on it, so an advanced detector as well, and 8 mining drills set up. Now the mining drills work out pretty good. It makes a nice rectangle with no nubs or problems or anything like that in it. Try to have good visibility for the pilot. And also really good lighting for mining tunnels and things like that. So it's got actually 6 of these spotlights around. Lights up the walls, the floor, the ceiling. Very easy to see in a mining tunnel with this build. So going around the rest of it, you can see there's just a lot of thrusters slapped in here. The thrusters are a mix between ion and plasma. Some are ion, some are plasma. I was trying to keep the cost down on this. So essentially, like all the reverse thrusters it does have on here are plasma. I couldn't really fit any of the big ones in here and try to have any block work at all going on the miner. So I went with some littler ones. So 6 of those, all plasma. The forward thrusters on here are plasma as well, and the strafing thrusters are plasma. So the down thrust on it is, these are ion. There's 6 of those, cheaper thrusters there. The lift thruster are actually ion as well, but there's 4 of these going on there. So essentially, that's kind of how that comes out to be. I'll show you the inside a second. The inside of this one, I did just kind of like the other one. I tried a ramp, and I couldn't get up it, and it kept on screwing up, so I got rid of the ramp again. And it doesn't matter on your sensor range. So you could have the sensor range maxed out where the ramp's coming down, 50 foot in front of you. But as soon as you walk up to it, it decides it wants to close on you, which happens quite a bit. Unless you're on, like if you're on a CV like I am, perfectly flat, it won't do that. But if I'm sitting on the ground and it's a little bit crooked or something like that, it doesn't work. So couldn't really get into the creation. So it's got a little jumpy thing here. I carved out part of the ceiling there so you can kind of like jump right up onto the doorway. I also rigged this one up so when the landing gear comes down, it opens up the door and turns on the light back here. So it's controlled by that and not by a different sensor. So on the interior, it's got, well, this version at least has 12K of harvest storage, 500 ammo. It does have a constructor, trauma station, a weapon locker, O2. The ventilators over here, it is an oxygen tight area. It does have a passenger seat, Wi-Fi, and of course that advanced detector. You got your warp drive access up over here, and Tacti tank is chilling out over there. Shield strength on this one 8252, and then you do have a spotlight control on it. So CPU wise, Core 7 again, which gives you 19,500 CPU, and it's using exactly 19,500 CPU. In fact, it was 5 under the CPU. It was like 495, and I added the seat, which was 5 CPU. So that's why the seat's there. It's practical though. If you're playing like co-op and things, you got to pick up somebody for whatever reason, bring them somewhere else. Kind of nice to have a seat there. So other than that, visibility for the cockpit really good. Pretty much you can see out the windows all the way around you. And also difference from the Scarab SM1, this one obviously has a roomier interior on it, so you can get out of the seat to either side and in back. So hopefully it has a lot less problems getting in and out of the seat versus the SM1. Again, that one has problems, if it's angled a little bit due to the tightness of it, where this one again had a little bit more room in it. Now this one does have the opportunity to add more harvest storage, but, well, yeah. Anyway, that's this version. So, in a nutshell, what happened, I took this out. Now, right now, I'm in survival, and I found this, I had to warp like 8 different jump points here to find this, but I found this planet. It's got a gravity of 4.12 G. So I wanted to find something of 4G gravity. And this is the first and only planet I found out of like 8 systems that has that. Has a pretty good barrage of different kinds of ores on here, I gotta say that. So I took it out. I'll just explain what happened on test one. Test one, I take it out. It's got power problems when I'm mining. Right now it has two 1x3 generators in it. And that's not enough. I thought it was enough. It was mostly under 100, and even in the 80s, but in a mining tunnel with the laser drills going and everything like that, it would spike to 114, 116, enough to damage the generators. So I couldn't let that rest. So my first revision of this was I got these two extra mining drills in here, and honestly they're kind of unneeded. Right, I thought it looked kind of cool and everything. Maybe it'd make you mine a little bit faster, but the spacing I've got between the other drills is fine, so those don't need to be there for any particular reason. So I cut those, thinking, well, hey, I cut two drills out. Maybe that'll work now, right? No, so it basically didn't affect the power performance at all, having two less mining drills on it. So I was like, well, that doesn't work. So then, because I removed the two mining drills and they're 1,000 CPU apiece, I had enough CPU to add in a 1x2 generator. I put that in there. It helped a little bit, but didn't work. Still would overtax the thing and still could cause damage to the generators. So I'm like, crap. Now what do I do? Well, now it's time to go upstairs. Here, let me. Okay, am I in God mode? I don't think I'm in God mode. I better be in God mode, or the game will kill me. All right, so here's the newer version. I guess I got the spotlights on this one. So this one, it's down to the 6 drills. I had to add a third 1x3 generator to it, and I actually stuck that in kind of down under there, but there's a sub-ceiling before you get on the inside of the creation there. But to pay for it in CPU, I had to get rid of one of the Gatling guns. So it's just got one Gatling gun on this one, and I ended up putting the advanced detector in that other location there. But this one with 3 generators, it doesn't have any power problems anymore. Now, keep in mind, I was investigating the other option, all right? So I'm using these, and if we take a look at these, each one of these are 2,000 CPU, which sucks. So I needed 3 of these. That's 6,000 CPU just in generators. There is the fusion generator for SVs, which only uses 4,000 CPU, and if you take a look at it, it does 20 kilowatts out, where each one of these does 4.5 kilowatts out. So this is like good for like 5 of these, and it's a much better bang for the buck. But well, here, let's take a look at the resource costs in this one a second. It's not going to tell you the production time. I don't know why, it's a different bug, but it was like an hour and 16-minute build time, right around that ballpark on this build. So how it is now, it does need the 14 plasma converters, right? And that's just something I can't really avoid, using some plasma thrusters on here. And I know they're a pain in the butt to get as well, but hopefully that's not too many. I don't know what else to do beyond that, though. I mean, the ion thrusters just aren't good enough to build this kind of creation and try to use them entirely, unless I, made it bigger and crazier, I guess. But in Core 9. But so anyway, 14 plasma converters, 15 platinum, and 1 advanced upgrade kit. So not so bad. So getting this thing in, especially where I'm at currently in the game, it's not going to be. I think I've got even the plasma converters I need at this point. So it shouldn't be a big problem. However, if I were to add in this part, which would actually shave down the CPU on this by 2,000, which would be really cool. The problem is, then it needs all this stuff. It needs a reactor core. It needs 12 radiation shielding, 16 superconductors, 16 heat exchangers, which I have yet to acquire 1 of the heat exchangers. So, yeah, that I didn't want to deal with it. It would work. It would. I could only have 1 of those, and I could get rid of all 3 of the other generators, have a little bit more room, save 2,000 CPU. I could put the Gatling gun back in, or the extra drills back in. But yeah, I don't want to pay for this. I don't even want to try to contemplate how to get all this stuff. So yeah, I kind of rolled it out as in using that for this build. It's just not what I want this build to be. I want it to be kind of pretty affordable to get into game. Again, if I could have ran it without plasma thrusters, I would have. But yeah, there's just no way. For instance, take a look at the flight specs on here. I've got 4 of those larger lift thrusters on here, so that makes 104 lift speed. I've got 2 of the same thrusters, but plasma versions for forward, which does the exact same. So they're matched on lift and your forward thrust. Then these are also plasma thrusters over here, so 52 ms in both for strafing, and only 65 reverse. Other than that, it handles pretty good. The roll's a bit excessive. In fact, I think it would be better if it was toned down a little bit with that. But you can modify that there. So, all right. Well, anyway, with all that being said, currently I have this thing loaded up with. Oh yeah. Also on this version too, I took down the Harvest Bay to 11K reluctantly. And I'll show you why I did that. It's has to do with it's just there's some weirdness going on here. This is a rough build. I got to say this one's a rough build. Just coming off from the SM1 and learning all the lessons on that one, this one was still a rough build. Really pain in the butt. So anyway, the planet here, 4.12G, I believe that is. So let's go there and give this thing a test. Let me make sure the shield. Okay, shield's charging. Should have enough fuel. And I even loaded this thing up with ammo right now and Pentaxid. So I think it is good to go. So what I found though, and why I reduced the storage on it, is it could handle the 12K, but I'll show you what happens, and it really depends on what kind of ore you're mining. Like for instance, I tried it with 12K of Neo and couldn't get off the ground. I don't know if I'm gonna actually mine anything. I just want to show you the power setup now. At least is working, but so we'll just do a random hole in the ground here somewhere, and then I will put in one of the heaviest known ores, I think, and fill this thing up with that and show you how it responds. And that's important to know too. So obviously you can see what kind of mining tunnel you're going to get out of this thing and how it lights up. So all that part works great. You got good visibility. You can see, you can make nice square tunnels and things like that. So all that part's great. Filling this thing up with, well, any ore that I've tried so far besides neodymium, you can just kind of take off like you were normally flying out. But for the test here, what I want to do is let me get rid of this junk, and I got this measured out to exactly fill up this 11K Harvest Bay. And as soon as I put it in, I'm falling to the ground. I'm literally falling to the ground. The lift thrust is no longer good enough to keep you up in the air. Well, actually, it kind of is. Barely. So, but if you're not holding down the lift thruster, it'll just fall to the ground. So, but if I do hold it down, now it doesn't care. That's what I thought would happen. So you can kind of get around, but it's a real pain in the butt. And trying to get any altitude is really hard at this stage. But to get off planet, when you're in this scenario with the heaviest ore and you're way down like this, what you want to do is you want to tilt the front end up at 45 degrees, almost precisely at 45 degrees, or within a couple degrees of that, and then only use your forward thrust, and then you would take right off, no problems at all. As you can see, my altitude's going up quite a bit right now. And that's with a full load of Neo on a planet that's a little bit above 4G. So I don't know of any more taxing of a test I could give this thing other than that. But that is pretty much pushing it to its limits. And it can, again, get up this way under those conditions. But if you're even at a different angle, like 30%, oh, now it's going up like fast at 30%. I couldn't get it to do that before, so I don't know. I get different results every time I do this test, but I basically, I found 45 degrees about the golden number here to get off. But if you wanted to go like straight up, like holding down your lift thrust, you're gonna fall to the ground and sink. Why that's taking place, I don't know. It makes no sense at all. The lift thrust and the forward thrust are matched. They are the same amount of thrust power in both directions. But the only thing that works is going up at an angle some kind of angle. I guess it might not have to be 45, but I tried before at like 35. And I'll just let off it and then try to do it again at 35. I guess it's working at 35 too. Actually, yeah, okay, so 35 to maybe 55. 55 is really slow. Ah, it's weird. I can't quite explain the physics in the game. But it will work, and I think I'm feeling pretty confident on it at this point in time to get it finished up, painted, and brought in the game this week sometime after it's got a paint job on it, basically. Other than that, I think everything else is done on it, is tweaked. It will do what it needs to do, and that is I basically wanted this to go down to that that particular moon that has the gold lakes on it. I forget the exact name of that moon. Metallic Moon, I think it was. That's it. Yeah, that's about it on what I wanted to show you right now. Here, I'll get back out to space real quick. I'll show you one last little thing, and it was where I started. I wanted to first investigate a previous high gravity miner I made some time ago for, I think it was for vanilla, maybe Reforged Eden 1. I'm not sure. Not sure that's probably the ship I started at with. But I took a look at the Merc. Let me get that here. Merc HG1, and this was a high gravity miner from the past. And I looked at it, and well, first of all, the drill setup not very cool. This one, you know, can do the tunnel and fit in the tunnel. This one can't do that. And then this has more guns on it, and the CPU is way over. At least at the Reforged Eden Core 2 specs. It would need so much work and redesigning that I was like, it's kind of a waste of time even trying to mess with it. So obviously a totally different design on this newer one, or mostly different design on this newer one. That's definitely for sure. But other than that, this one does work now, and I'll probably try to get this out to the workshop this weekend. That'll give me a chance to get it painted and tweaked and things like that, and also use in game for a little bit before then. So then I'll have that high gravity miner that I've been wanting to have. And I made mention in some of the playthrough videos too that I wanted to make a high gravity miner so I could go to that metallic moon and reap the gold and the platinum from it. So got one now, and I think it's gonna work. And well, in fact, everything about it does seem to work now. But man, this thing, you know, I thought I was gonna be able to build something like this in a couple hours. I think I'm going on like 6-7 hours of messing with this thing, and probably a good hour and a half of testing this thing on top of that. And it's just, yeah, even something small and simple like this, well, I wouldn't call it necessarily simple, but just pain in the butt. It's small. I'll give it credit for being small. But yeah, it really sucks, and I really hate the power setup where I can't, like, the two 1x3 generators was not enough. If that would have been enough, it would have had another Gatling gun, and it would have had 8 drills. But it just wasn't enough, so I had to like blow away thousands of CPU to deal with that. And that's the thing, it inconsistently was enough. I mean, like, most of the time it would be like in the 80s, but all of a sudden, you know, you're like, I don't know, go forward a little bit, all of a sudden it's like 116% power usage all of a sudden. It's like, what did I do different than I just did? But it was enough to cause damage to the generator. So yeah, it's just not acceptable. Can't be on pins and needles like that. Blow your generator out on a high gravity planet. That would be nightmarish. Actually, that would be a really bad thing. That'd probably end your playthrough. Well, or you'd have to put out a distress call to some other player on the server or something to come pick you up if they're able to. So yeah, lots of problems with that. But I think at this point in time it's good. Please let me know if there's anything else you can think of to go on here. Keep in mind, right now with this new version, with all the CPU is still, it's not like even, but it's tight. It's really, really tight on the CPU on this one. So I can't just add more stuff really to it. And I didn't plan this out to be a Core 9. I don't really care, I guess, is the point. It's like, what, this has a very specific task to it, and it can do that task, and I don't want to pay more for it. With bringing it up to a Core 9 and needing quantum processors and things like that. Same reason why I didn't put on that fusion reactor for it is I don't want to pay for it. It's just too expensive to put on this. Maybe if I had some really high-end Core 12, 14-ish combat SV or something like that, or tank or something along those lines, maybe it would be worthwhile. But on this build, nah, it's gonna make it just too crazy and hard to get into the game. One other thing too, and if you got any opinion on this one, the recent Scar Hornet that was put to the workshop, I ran that with solid plasma thrusters, and it requires a lot of those plasma converters, like 54, I think, or something like that, maybe in 58. And I was half tempted to, like the version I brought in the game to use, I got rid of all the plasma thrusters and replaced them all with ion thrusters. And I'm half tempted to just update that blueprint on the workshop to be that way. I know it reduces half of its power, its flight power. Literally cuts it in half, which sucks because it was a really agile creation when I built it, and using it in game, it's, yeah, again, half as much as it was. But I guess it still kind of works, and things like that. But I'm just kind of wondering if I shouldn't update that blueprint after the fact, and with the plasma thrusters off the build entirely, and then it's so much easier to spawn in that way. You don't need all those plasma converters. And those plasma converters, I've come across some in game, but it's not that many. It's not that many. There's probably places to get them. Good places to get them if I checked out more POIs and things like that. But they just don't come in super quickly or easily, really. You got to do a lot of stuff to get those things, and especially that quantity of them. That takes a little bit there too. So other than that, I think I'll shut up at this point in time. Just wanted to show you the new miner and how it works out, and what the worst case scenario would be, filling it completely full of like the heaviest ore. And please, if I'm wrong on the heaviest ore, I was told in the past, I think it was neodymium was the heaviest ore, so that's why I used neo on this. And it does make a big difference. Like if it's full of steel or something else, no problem taking off, even going straight up with your regular lift thrust. But as soon as I put neo in it, it's a world of difference. It's way heavier. And then it's like, yeah, you gotta angle this thing up around your 45 degree angle, and then you're all right. So that's just something to know in case you're gonna ever use this in game once it gets to the workshop. The name probably is gonna be called the Scarab. HG1, I think I'll call it. It'll go kind of with the SM1. So the HG1 will be the high gravity, and the SM1 is the starter miner. So yeah, I think that should work. As in, and again, with the storage on here, 11K, I wanted to have it. I originally, when I built this, I had it with 14K. Actually, I wanted to have a bigger payload on it, but it just can't do it. It could do 12K like my first version was, but again, not with Neo in it. If I fill that completely up with Neo, all bets are off. You can't get back off the ground, but you can with 11K. And that's why I did it that way. And I was kind of, reluctant because I had the room. I have the room to probably bring this up to like 16K of container extensions. But yeah, I can't move it, not unless I had like antimatter thrusters or something even better, and more expensive yet. And again, trying to keep the cost down and easy to bring in the game, or relatively easy to bring in the game. I had to pretty much keep it where it's at. So when you do play the game and you progress in the game, obviously there's better parts. There's, even like the SV fusion reactor, much better bang for the buck versus the generators. There's a lot of things that you can do that don't cost, actually will save you CPU when your technology goes up and you have the parts to build those things. And it's kind of how RE2 is really set up. But it makes it really difficult to build stuff that's easier to bring in without all the expensive parts. I'm at this point in time, I'm absolutely scared to death to build any creation that has a fusion reactor on it. But you know, if I run into something that needs like 4 power generators, a fusion reactor would be half the CPU usage versus the 4 like 1x3 power generators, and still provide more power. So yeah, there's gonna be some limits there, but other than that, I will shut up and you guys have yourself a great day. I'll be playing with Excalibur later today as well. I believe starting at 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time today instead of 3 though. So all right, I will talk to you later.